Now I study history, spectrum books. Okay, now I come to 527 page. So first now we study the cabinet mission. So the cabinet mission, the Attlee government announced in February 1946 the decision to send a high-powered mission to three British cabinet members: Patrick Lawrence, Secretary of State for India, Stafford Cripps, President of the Board of Trade, and then A.P. Alexander, First Lord of the Admiralty, to India to find out ways and means for negotiated peaceful transfer of power into India. Patrick Lawrence was the chairman of the mission while British withdrawal seemed imminent now. The success of nationalist forces in the struggle for hegemony was fairly evident. By the end of the war, nationalists had penetrated into hitherto untouched sections and areas. There was a demonstration in favor of nationalism among the bureaucracy and the loyalist sections, because the paucity of European ICS recruits and a policy of Indianizations had ended the British domination of the ICS as early as the First World War, and by 1939 there existed the British Indian parity. The long war had caused weariness and economic worries. Now only the depleted war worry bureaucracy battered by the 1942 events remained. The British strategy of conciliation and repression had its limitations and contradictions. After the Cripps offer, there was little left to offer the conciliation except full freedom. When non-violent resistance was repressed with force, the naked force behind the government stood exposed. Well, if the government did not clamp down on citizen or made up for trust, it was seen to be unable to yield authority, and its prestige suffered. Efforts to who the Congress the Congress dismayed the loyalists. This policy of an unclear mix presented a dilemma for the services who nevertheless had to implement it. The prospect of Congress ministries coming to power in the provinces further compounded this dilemma. Constitutionalism of Congress Raj had proved to be a big moral booster and help in deeper penetration of patriotic sentiments among the masses. Demands of leniency of INA prisoners from within the army and the revolt of the Aryan rating had raised fears that the armed forces may not be as reliable if the Congress started in 1942 type mass movement, this time aided by the provincial ministries. The only alternative to an all-out repression of the mass movement was an entirely official rule which seemed impossible now because the necessary numbers and efficient officials were not available. The government realized that a settlement was necessary for burying the ghost of a mass movement and for good future Indo-British relations. Now the overarching aim of the British policymakers was graceful withdrawal after the settlement of the modalities of the transport power and nature of past imperial India-Britain relations. On the ivy of the cabinet mission plan, The Congress demanded that power be transferred to one center and that minorities' demands be worked out in a framework ranging from autonomy or to Muslim majority provinces to self-determination or secession from the Indian Union. But only after the British left, the British beat for a united and friendly India and an active partner in defense of the Commonwealth, because a divided India would lack in defense and would be a blot on Britain's diplomacy. The British policy in 1946 clearly reflected a preference for a united India. In sharp contrast to earlier declarations on March 15, 1946, the Prime Minister of Britain, Clement Attlee, said, though mindful of the rights of the minorities, cannot allow a minority to place the veto on advance of the majority. This was a far cry from the Simla conference, where Wavell had allowed Jinnah to rig the conference. Cabinet mission arrives. The cabinet mission reached Delhi on March 24, 1946. It had prolonged a discussion with Indian leaders of all parties and groups on the issue of interim government and principle and procedures for framing a new constitution giving freedom to India. Okay, as the Congress and the leader could not come to any agreement on the fundamental issue of the interim unity of parties or partition of India, the mission put forward its own plan for resolution for solution to the constitutional problem in May 1946. Cabinet mission plan main points rejection of the demand for a full-fledged Pakistan, because the Pakistan should form would include a large non-Muslim party population, 38% of the northwest and 48% of the northeast. The very principle of communal self-determination would claim separation of Hindu majority West Bengal and Sikh and Hindu dominated Ambala and Jalandhar divisions of Punjab. Already some Sikh leaders were demanding a separate state if the country was partitioned. Deep-seated regional ties would be disturbed if Bengal and Punjab were partitioned. Partition would entail economic and administrative problems. For instance, the problem of communication would be western and eastern parts of Pakistan, while the division of the armed forces would be major grouping of existing provincial assemblies into three fractions. Section A, Madras, Bombay, Central provinces, United Provinces, Bihar, Odisha, Hindu majority provinces. Section B, Punjab, Northwest Frontier provinces, and the Sindh, Muslim majority provinces. Section C, Bengal and Assam, Muslim majority provinces. So here you can see in all Section A, Madras, and third being Northwest, and third is Bengal. Three-tier executive and legislative at provincial. A constituent assembly was to be elected by provincial assemblies by proportional representation voting. In three would be a 9-member body with provincial assemblies sending 292 chief administrative commissioners, provinces sending 4 and princely states sending 93 members. This was no democratic method, not based on weightage. In the Constituent Assembly, members of groups ABC were to sit separately in the Constitution. So, for provinces, and it's possible for the groups also, then the whole Constituent Assembly, all three factions ABC combined, would sit together to formulate the Union Constitution. A common center would control defense, communication, and external affairs. A federal structure was envisaged for India. Communal questions in the central legislatures were to be divided by the simple majority of both communities present, and voting provinces were to have full autonomy and residual or princely states were no longer to be under parliamentary paramountcy of the British government. They would be free to enter into an arrangement with successors government of the British government. After the first general elections, the province was to be free to come out of the group of after 10 years. The province was to be free to call for reconsideration of the group or the union constitution. Meanwhile, the interim government was to be formed from the constitutional assembly. So next we discuss different interpretation of the grouping call clause. So thank you.